Oh, hello. Yeah, I'm live. It's March 18th. Yeah, 18th. And I'm here. Not for long, about a week. Week till I go away. That's why I got this nice golden brown color. I do a thing before I go on vacation. I like to hit the tanning stuff. Hit the tanning beds. Upright, whatever. I just like to get myself pre-tanned so I don't burn when I go down. So that's a tip for you people out there. If you're going away, going down south, it's a good idea to get yourself pre-tanned because then you don't burn when you're away. Just lather up sunscreen and you're good. I've traveled with black people and they've burned and I haven't burned, so I'm doing something right. What's up, Joe? Go get your drink, bud. Yeah. So welcome to the podcast this week. I got a few things to talk about this week. What's going on in Haiti? Jeez, that's some crazy, crazy stuff over there. That's pretty close to your U.S. border. That's what, like 70 kilometers away or something like that? It's not very far, man. So right off your southern end of your country, we got some Haitian issues. We'll talk about that. Also, we got billions or trillions, different estimates, of cicadas coming our way this spring. Mostly for you Americanos down there, not so much for us up here in the Great White North. But yeah, they're coming. It's the 13 and 17 year cicadas that are, it's a 1 in 200 year event type thing that's happening. Disgusting. If you see these things, they're gross. Ugh. Loud and they're gross. But they're coming. So awesome. Yeah, no, I'm just hitting Toronto. I'm south of Toronto already there, Joe. Oh, I'm going down to the Mexico. Going down to get my Mexico on. So, when you're up here in the cold, you like to get down to the warm. That's what I'm going to do. Lots of drinks, lots of whatever, just relaxing, whatever. Just going to not think about things that I think about up here. How about that? Also, we're going to talk today about Chris Cuomo joining the Valuetainment cast. Oh, that's kind of weird, eh? The traitorous Chris Cuomo. Actually, it's funny though. I say that. I actually don't mind him. I don't know. Ugh. I feel like feel icky a little bit saying that, but I really kind of don't mind him. I didn't like him on CNN, but I've seen him, in other things, and I don't know. I kind of like him. I have to admit it. So hopefully he's not a tool. We'll see what. Obviously, Patrick Bet-David thinks something of him. Brought him on his organization. We'll see how it goes. But we'll talk about that. Also, we got cloud seeding going on in the Middle East. I know a lot of people thought that was kind of a conspiracy theory. It's happening. They're doing it. It's real. They've been doing it for a while, apparently, too. I'm going to read an article on that. We'll kind of discuss what that entails and what the worries are and things like that. Also, NVIDIA. If you know what NVIDIA is, they are a software company that makes chips, microchips and stuff for computers. They make, I think they make motherboards and, and all kinds of stuff. Anything for computer related anyway. Well, they've come out with an AI chip. So they're going to try and compete with Microsoft and such. And yeah, we'll talk about that. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Everybody's getting in that race. It's going to be the big race. And, anybody who doesn't get in it, anybody in the tech space doesn't get in it, I think they're going to miss. So we'll talk about that anyway. Also, Andrew Santino, if you know who he is, he's a comedian, actor, podcaster. Very funny in the podcast. He's got a podcast with, what's his face? The guy from Mad TV. I can't remember his name. I'm losing his name right now. But yeah, he's got a podcast that's funny, but his comedy, I just watched some of his comedy. I don't know, it's a bit of a miss. And I just watched his new movie on Apple that called Ricky Stenicki. It's kind of funny. I mean, I don't think he's all that funny in it, but the movie itself, the premise is kind of funny. Yeah, graphics cards. That's it. Sorry, buddy. Joe just corrected me. Graphics cards. That's what NVIDIA makes. Mostly. But anyways, now they make AI chips. So, and also we're going to talk about alien peeping Tom cows. That's another thing we're going to talk about. That'll be towards the end of the show. If you do watch and you aren't already subscribed to the show, please hit that subscribe button. That actually helps. Small, tiny infinitesimal channel like myself. And hit the like on any of the videos that you see. I've got tons of videos on the site. So if you're looking for content, if you like anything that I say, if you like me, go check out those videos. Like them, because that helps that helps everything. It helps the algorithm push my stuff. Otherwise, I'm left in the dead zone of small YouTube channel, infinitesimal YouTube channel that says stuff that that the overlords don't like very much. So if you do want to help that out, do all that stuff and share. And look for anything I talk about on the podcast, look for them in smaller bite-size skibbits over the week. 5 o'clock, I drop a video every day, and except Mondays. Sometimes I'll drop a 7th on Monday, but with the podcast coming out at 7, I don't typically. And also next week I'll be on, but the week after, obviously I'll be in Mexico, so I won't be here. So don't look for me on the 1st. That's not a joke. It's not an April Fool's joke. I will not be here. Don't look for me. You, Joe, go find something else to do, buddy. Do your podcast, and I'll join from Mexico. We'll do it that way. Okay. All right. Let's get into the first thing here. Let me cue this up. All right. So Haiti be in some trouble. They're fighting over there. I got this article here I'm going to read. This is from our friends over here at CBS News. Awesome outfit. Unbiased completely, not garbage whatsoever. Let's see what they have to say about this. Okay. So criminal gangs more powerful than Haiti's state security forces have attacked prisons and the airport, serving the country's capital, forcing businesses and schools to close and driving an estimated 15,000 people from their homes in Port-au-Prince. On March 12th, Prime Minister Ariel Henry announced that he would resign once a transitional presidential council was created, capitulating to international pressure as his country faced what some experts had already labeled a low-scale civil war. Henry announced his decision hours after officials, including Caribbean leaders and U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, met in Jamaica to discuss the situation or solution to Haiti's spiraling crisis. The UN's top human rights official had warned days earlier that the situation in Haiti was beyond untenable, noting that more than 1,190 people had been killed since the start of 2024 alone. But the chaos and bloodshed started long before that in the small, deeply impoverished Caribbean nation, and international efforts to send help have thus far gone nowhere. Yeah, Haiti's been in trouble for a while. So if you follow Haiti at all, if you follow that island at all, one half is Dominican Republic, the other half is Haiti. Obviously, the Dominican Republic does quite well on their side with tourism and such. Haiti's a bit of a gong show over there. It's been for a while. It had problems with earthquakes and such, which this article, I think, talks about a little bit. So the latest episode of major violence flared up on February 29th as Prime Minister Henry flew to Kenya to push for the UN-backed deployment of a police force to help fight the gangs. Heavy gunfire echoed across the capital as prominent gang leader Jimmy Barbecue Chirizier. Anytime somebody's nickname is Barbecue, that's probably not good. You stay away. It's not unless they cook a lot of barbecue, and but I'm staying away from anybody with a nickname Barbecue, especially in a gang. He announced that his group G9 was joining forces with other gangs to force Henry to step down. Finance Minister Patrick Bovier, serving as Haiti's acting prime minister in Henry's absence, declared a state of emergency on March 3rd and said officials were imposing an evening curfew to take appropriate measures in order to regain control of the situation. Curfews always work, against gangs especially, too. On March 5th, with Henry still in his role, though not in the country, Chirizier warned that if the premier... Why are they saying premier there? I guess they're a premier. Why is it saying presidential? Oh, whatever. That if the premier didn't resign and if the international community continues to support him, we'll be heading straight for a civil war that will lead to genocide. So how did things get so bad in Haiti? Government corruption is at the root of Haiti's long-standing instability. The small nation has grappled with violent political unrest for 20 years, but powerful earthquakes in both 2010 and 2021 did nothing to help ease the difficult lives of the residents. The 2010 disaster was one of the deadliest earthquakes ever, killing roughly 250,000 people and devastating the island's already weak infrastructure. Yeah, if you remember that earthquake, it literally knocked down buildings and just like they collapsed on people and such. These buildings are like, it's, third world stuff over there, right? So they're not going to survive an earthquake of over 6 even, right? So that's what happened over there then. The latest round of attacks began in late February after Henry pledged to hold long-awaited general elections, but not until mid-2025. He'd been due to step down voluntarily by February, but declined to do so, infuriating many Haitians and sparking the gang's uprising. The current crisis can be traced directly back to 2021, however, when then Prime Minister Jovenel Moïse, who was facing a mounting economic and political crisis as he led the country by decree and without a democratic mandate, was assassinated. Henry was sworn in as prime minister soon after with the backing of the international community, but his authority was never cemented as Haitians continue to grapple with the soaring prices and crumbling infrastructure. So Jimmy Barbecue Cherzier, here's a little bit on him. He's the leader of the gang federation known as the G9 Family and Allies. He used to be an elite police officer before taking up arms against Haitian authorities. They've got about 200 gangs exist in Haiti, with 23 main ones believed to be operating in the metropolitan area of Port-au-Prince. Until recent years, they controlled some 60% of the capital, but that area has since grown to about 80%, according to UN officials. Smuggled firearms and ransom payments to kidnappers. Again, that's what these guys do. They just kidnap people and then they get ransom money. So it's this real archaic shit over here. Payments to kidnappers have enabled the gangs to become more financially independent. That's increased their power as the state has weakened, and an underfunded and under-resourced police department has been unable to contain them. So that's what's going on in Haiti right now. It's not good. It's looking a lot like a civil war. It's pre-civil war right now. It's just basically civil unrest. But when you see a government start to step away and allow gangs to run it, that's pretty much anarchy at that point, I would say. So, yeah. And you don't really want a guy named with the nickname Barbecue running the show, because unless he's cooking up a good feast, he's probably cooking up the humans. What do you got to say there, Joe? Yeah, exactly. He's only eating people he just wants to shock the people. He's got a different diet that sustains him. In fact, apparently, according to all the movies I watch, you can't eat too much human without going a little. So, yeah, it's a good thing. I'm a little worried about the future Haitian prime minister or president or whatever the hell they call him over there. His diet, because that could lead to some weird governance over the country. So that's all. Let's all watch what he's eating. All right. So let's get on to the next thing here. What do we got? Oh, yeah. This story. Yeah, get the ick out of you. Ugh. Trillions of cicadas. Billions, trillions, whatever. What's a couple B's between friends of cicadas are coming our way, everybody. They're coming in a weird, like basically 200-year event that's happening. So all you statins, you included, Joe, you're going to be looking at a lot of these things. Let me read this article. This is Global News. Global News is one of our guys up here, up north. And so if you haven't heard of them, they're garbage too. So good on Global. Billions of cicadas emerging amid rare double brood. Okay. So in a rare natural phenomenon that has not been witnessed since the 1800s, billions of cicadas are poised to emerge from their decades-long slumber across the eastern half of the United States this spring and early summer. This double brood, I don't know why they call them brood, but double brood event will happen just south of Canada, with both 13 and 17-year cicadas emerging simultaneously, which has not happened since 1803 when Thomas Jefferson was president. And the next time this will happen will be in 2245. Thank God. It's great that it's happening in my lifetime, but also great that it's happening just outside of where I live. So there you go. The spectacle is set to unfold across the eastern U.S. with its northernmost boundaries extending into Illinois. Although this may be as far north as the event happens, Beresford still hopes it may appear in southern Ontario too, but admitted to speculating and remaining hopeful as an insect enthusiast. Ew, get out of here, buddy. You know, see it up here. You're gonna see it in Michigan already. So I just hope they all die there in Michigan. You can have them. Cicadas are known for their loud buzzing chorus that fills the air during mating season on warm summer days. There are more than 3,200 species of cicada worldwide, according to the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. In Canada, Beresford said that there are several species, but they are annual cicadas, meaning that they emerge from the ground every season. Oh, awesome. Lucky us. In contrast, the double rare bird event in the U.S. involves periodical cicadas that synchronize their emergence during 13 or 17-year cycles, Beresford said. Periodical cicadas occur in different regional broods, each consisting of one or more species with the same cycle length. Why do we keep saying broods? Because it's weird to say. So here's a little map. As you can see, Great Lakes. There's big old Lake Superior coming down. There. This is Michigano over here. And there's us. This is us in Canada up here. I'm somewhere over here, but don't go trying to find exactly where I am. Somewhere around the Toronto area. So as you can see, we're not supposed to get any, but you guys are just gonna get dinged with them. Yummy. The impending emergence of cicada broods this spring and summer includes brood 8, operating on a 17-year cycle, and brood, 19, following in a 13-year cycle, spanning parts of 17 states. He said these two broods will overlap in a small region of central Illinois. Oh, nice. Good job, Illinois, where the largest amount of these insects will appear. Ugh, I'm moving from Illinois if I live there, just for a little while anyway. He estimated the double bird event will produce around billions of cicadas in the region. When cicadas are underground during these years, they are not hibernating. They are making tunnels and sucking on tree roots to survive. They're sucking on tree roots. Yeah, I know people that do that to survive. When it's the spring of their 13th or 17th year, depending on which brood, he said they begin emerging from the ground, mainly at night once the soil warms to a certain temperature. At this stage, the nymphs then crawl up any hard surfaces like tree trunks or fences and molt into adult winged cicadas. Why did that ring all sexual there? That was weird. They're just crawling up hard surfaces. And they're sucking on tree roots. Doing a lot of weird stuff over there. Look at these things. After 4 or 5 days, I get the ick, man. After 4 or 5 days, adults fly into the tree canopy where males start singing, he said, and this is to attract a mate. Females then hear this and fly into the tree. The females are attracted to a particular male's call, respond with wing flicks, which also make a sound. Pairs then mate. Once they mate, the female cicadas lay their eggs, which can take about 6 to 7 weeks to hatch, after which hatched nymphs drop to the ground and burrow to begin the next generation of periodical cicadas. The adult cicadas then eventually die, as they should. The male cicada's singing can reach an impressive 90 to 95 decibels. That's fucking loud, just so you know. To put that into perspective, the sound may be loud enough to drown out a jet engine. There's another picture of it. Yummy. Look at that thing. Imagine billions of those. Oh, all right. That's enough of that article. That's all my highlights. So, yeah. So get ready. You're getting an infestation of those things. They're coming your way, Americanos. And, you're always thinking, oh, us poor Canadians up here, we're cold and all that. But we don't get those things. We don't get those little demons crawling out of the ground and flying all over the place. Well, we do, but not in the droves you're going to get them in. So enjoy. Oh, Joe, you were busy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be loud this summer, and all the birds, frogs, and other insect eaters will be well fed. Yeah. So that's what happens, actually. They get fed on like crazy, and then whatever survives are the ones that mate. So that's going to be a feeding frenzy, at least for anything that eats them, I guess. Yeah. So I think I've seen it up here. I don't know 100%. I was looking it up. I was looking up when I was a kid. I lived somewhere else, a little closer to the American border down towards you, Joe. And we had something happen. I thought they were locusts, but I'm guessing they were probably cicadas. There were millions, if not billions of these things. You couldn't even see out the window. They were just covering the window. They were everywhere. I remember it was so disgusting. They were literally everywhere for was probably a few days. I can't remember exactly. I was young. I was maybe like 7 or something, but I remember it being completely disgusting. But I can't find it. It doesn't seem to be on the cycles of the cicadas, so I don't know. I don't know what this was. It could have been a one-off. Never seen it since, but it was it's fucking gross. Yeah. You get them bad every summer, or you just get a few? Yeah, I know, eh? Brood. I don't even know. Yeah, it's kind of creepy, eh? I'm talking about bugs and I'm creeping you out a little. Yeah. Word up there, Gizzo. Locusts. Oh, is that what you're saying? You thought they were locusts? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure what they were. They look gross. They look like dragonflies, locusts. I don't know. Look like fucking bugs that were everywhere. And I remember just being a kid and being terrified and grossed out at the same time. It was awful. But they died off pretty quick. But then they were everywhere. You were walking, you hear all the crunching. It was awful. Even when you were driving, you hear all the crunching. It was disgusting. They were everywhere. I don't remember how long until they were all cleaned up. I don't know. When you're a kid, time's different, right? But I'm glad it hasn't happened since I've been an adult, or else I would just have to leave, go somewhere colder where they don't live. All right, I'm gonna get on to the next thing here. This story. So Mr. Chris Cuomo is back. He's back in the limelight. I mean, he was with Newsmax or something for a little while. Kind of one of the forgotten CNN douches. But he's back now, and he's back with Valuetainment. So this is weird. It's giving him some credibility on, in the centrist and right side of the spectrum here. I don't know how he's going to fit, but we'll see. I'm going to read this article. This is actually from Valuetainment. This is just talking about their movement here to grab him. So Valuetainment is excited to announce that veteran news anchor Chris Cuomo will be joining our media team as a talent partner. He will become a rotating guest on the PBD podcast's home team, bringing 2 decades of experience and his unique perspective to the table. His new role is a non-cable media contract. Cuomo will still be hosting his show on News Nation. Oh, sorry, I said Newsmax. News Nation, which was launched in July of 2022, as well as his own personal podcast, The Chris Cuomo Project. Everybody's got a podcast. People that start podcasts. What is wrong with these people? It's so stupid. This follows our live event with Cuomo and political commentator Candace Owens this past Friday, as well as his 2 successful appearances of the podcast in July 2023 and November 2023. Cuomo is best known for his role as host of CNN's Cuomo Primetime, a hallmark of cable nightly news during the Trump administration, airing from June 2018 to November 2021, before getting his own show on CNN. He was a co-anchor on the network's morning show, New Day. I don't know any of this really. I knew about his Cuomo Primetime show, but not the New Day one. His illustrious journalistic career speaks for itself. He has... You're really trying to sell him there, PBD. He has interviewed numerous heads of state, from Donald Trump to Vladimir Zelensky, as well as prominent statesmen and political candidates. He has received a number of awards for his coverage, including a News Emmy for his segment on 12-year-old poet Maddie Stepanek for Good Morning America, as well as the Polk Award, the Peabody Award, the National Edward R. Murrow Award, and Gerald Loeb Award for television dead business reporting, and the American Bar Association's Silver Gavel Award for investigative news. Yeah, he's a lawyer, apparently, so he is a smart guy, but, smart versus intelligent, 2 different things. Cuomo started his career as an attorney after graduating from the Fordham School of Law in New York. He then became a political policy correspondent for Fox News before joining ABC as an anchor for Good Morning America, co-anchor of 2020, and the station's chief law and justice analyst. Why we have recruited Cuomo? Put simply, because debate is healthy. If every home team episode only featured people who think the same, our listeners lose. Even if they agree with the points made, debate focuses our gears to turn in new ways and allow us to learn more about our own beliefs, just as much as it allows us to learn about the beliefs of others. It can even persuade us to evolve. I do agree with that. I mean, obviously, that's why I like to look at both sides. I listen to left-leaning stuff all the time. I listen to the Young Turks and stuff, and I like to hear perspective from the other side. Because if you get into one side, you're getting into that echo chamber, and you really don't want to do that, especially if you're more of a centrist like I am. I like to hear both sides of the aisle. Just right now, it's hard with the Overton window moved over to the left so much to validate what they say a lot of times on the left side. It just seems more feelings versus common sense more on the right. So that's why I tend to lean right, current right. We value Cuomo for his insights into complex political and social issues across an array of topic areas, which mixes well with Valuetainment's broad content range. Cuomo's personality complements our home team nicely, just as his difference of opinion on big issues brings us a welcome challenge. His addition will help in creating a media space where multiple perspectives are respected and navigated, an increasingly important skill in today's polarized environment. His journalistic depth will synthesize with Patrick's entrepreneurial spirit. This partnership sets a new benchmark for how journalism and entrepreneurship will coexist and thrive together. Okay, that's a nice article they wrote about him. I have a personal take on Cuomo. I actually kind of like him. I like, as far as those guys go, I think he's the best the CNN has produced. I think if you get him in the right sphere, he's more of a logical. How do I put this? I think you can speak logic to him, and he won't refute it as much as these others will. I think he puts his feelings a little bit aside more so. I think you'll see him quite different here without the strings of the CNN beast pulling him. So I think this could be good. We'll see. Again, like I said, I kind of like him. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him, but I don't dislike him. We'll just say that. I don't fully dislike him. Like, I dislike Don Lemon, whatever the hell you want to call him. But Chris Cuomo could do well there. We'll see. Time will tell if this is a mistake or if this was a big thing. I tend to think this was probably a good move for them. Just the name alone gives you some additional recognition if you want to build Valuetainment. So, and that seems to be what PBD is doing. So, yeah, his COVID basement. Yeah, the one he spent like 10 minutes in. Fucking loser. That was pretty bad. The whole COVID thing. I mean, it's hard to kind of hold everybody's feet to the fire in the COVID thing, because even people that you kind of trusted were saying things during that time period that were, now in retrospect, just completely laughable. Even myself, for the first 6 weeks, I was kind of on board with the whole stayed home kind of thing. And I was doing all that. I was doing my best to keep away from people, all that kind of stuff. And I actually still do. When I get sick, I just stay away from people that I know that are vulnerable. Yeah. So I don't know. It's, but the whole thing they were doing at the Clown News Network there was pretty bad. And he was a big part of pushing that narrative. So I hate him for that. But away from the tentacles of CNN, we'll see how he does. I don't know. It's to be seen. So, it's I just find it funny when they blame him for kind of backing his brother. I don't know, how don't you back your own brother? It's kind of that's a tough place to be in. Anybody who says that's real cut and dry, and they're like, oh, if my brother did what his brother did, what Andrew did, that he should not back him up. But I don't know. You love your brother, so, and it's not. That's whatever. I don't want to get into that. That's a convoluted thing. So, anyways, all right. Let's get on to the next thing here. Ooh, funny, almost into conspiracy theories here. Yeah, well, yeah. I was just talking about this, and you're going to stop me from getting into this next topic here. I was just talking about this, Joe, with somebody about like murdering versus like being complicit in the act of that. How do you put this? In something that would lead to a bunch of people dying. So, I don't know. It's tough. It's probably for another podcast. I don't know how I feel on it. So I haven't really thought too much on it. I know it's a weird situation. I have brothers. I have a dead brother and I have a live brother. I have 3 dead brothers, technically, 2 halves and 1 full, and then 1 live half brother. And I know if, they did something Um, it would depend. It would depend on what kind of crime it was. Murder would be one of those things I don't think I would disown a brother for, to be honest. You mess with kids, or you start, you know, doing the R stuff to women and things like that. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll be the first in line to stick a stake in your head. But the rest of it, I don't know. Gizzo. Yeah, the whole old folks home thing. Yeah. Anyways, all right, let's get on to the next thing here. So if you've ever heard cloud seeding, it's real. They're doing it. The United Emirates are doing it, and they've been doing it for a while. Let me read this article here. This is CNBC, so it's another clown network, but let's see what they have to say. So rising global temperatures have added a strain on regions like the Middle East, which is extremely vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. These nations are now faced with a big problem. How can they solve their water shortage issues? The United Arab Emirates averages less than 200 millimeters of rainfall a year, in stark contrast to London's average of over 1,000 millimeters and Singapore's 3,000 millimeters. So they're pretty arid over there. In the AUE, temperatures can reach as high as 50 degrees Celsius or 122 Fahrenheit for you Americano friends during the summer, where 80% of the country's landscape is covered with desert terrain. Extreme heat can exacerbate water scarcity issues and impose restraints on agricultural productivity in the country. The United Nations projects that by 2025, okay, this part of the article is kind of funny to me. They project that by 2025, 1.8 billion people will face absolute water scarcity across the world. They've been saying this alarmist thing for a while. I've actually watched a whole documentary called Blue Gold, or I think it was Blue Gold, talking about water and the scarcity of water, and they were saying around 2025. Okay, that's next year. All right. The Middle East stood out as one of the most water-stressed areas, with around 83% of the population in the region prone to experiencing high levels of water stress. With water scarcity at the core of the region's challenges, the Gulf state implemented a program aimed at addressing this issue. It's funny because they talk about water scarcity issues. Pretty sure the whole planet's full of water. What we have is a desalination problem. How about you just throw desalination plants all over the place and fund them? That'll take care of your water issues, but no money in that. Okay, so in the 1990s, the UAE introduced a rain enhancement methodology called cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is the process of increasing the amount of rain produced from the clouds above, which is designed to improve water shortage issues in arid regions around the emirate. By the early 2000s, the vice president of the UAE allocated up to $20 million for research into cloud seeding. The UAE partnered with the National Center of Atmospheric Research in Colorado and NASA. It's always NASA. NASA's always involved somehow, to set up the methodology for the cloud seeding program. The government introduced a task force called the National Center of Meteorology, or NCM, in Abu Dhabi, where more than 1,000 hours of cloud seeding is performed each year to enhance rainfall. The NCM has a weather radar network and more than 60 weather stations, where it manages seeding operations in the country and closely monitors atmospheric conditions. This is how it works. Weather forecasters at the center can observe precipitation patterns in clouds and identify suitable clouds to seed, with the aim of increasing the rate of rainfall. Once they spot the right cloud, they instruct pilots to take to the air with their specialized aircrafts loaded with hydroscopic flares on the plane's wings. Each flare contains about 1 kilogram of salt material components and can take up to 3 minutes to burn and shoot into the right clouds. After the seeding agent is introduced into the cloud, the droplets increase in size, surpassing the cloud's capacity to sustain them against gravity, resulting in their release as raindrops. Seeding agents. So skeptics have long argued that governments who have introduced weather modification techniques to their skies are playing God. See, that's the thing, right? It's like every time we do this, every time we kind of play God, it doesn't seem to go well. We do it all the time with species, where we introduce one species to counteract another species, or we'll do these, for example, killer bees, right? We made killer bees. We decided we're going to put an African bee with a European bee and, create this super bee. Well, you get what you're unintended results of what you didn't think you were going to get from doing shit like that. So I don't know, this might go the same way. We'll see. Almandus added that Abu Dhabi's program does not use silver iodide, a common crystal-like material used in a seeding agent in other countries. This material has been widely criticized for potential harmful effects on the environment and the public. However, some cloud seeding studies show there has been no substantial evidence to prove that at current levels it poses any toxic effects. Almandra said the center started manufacturing its own seeding agent called nanomaterial, a fine salt coated with titanium oxide, which is more effective than what it uses currently. So, okay, so they're trying to play God over there. They're trying to play rain God. Somewhere along the line, people got away from doing rain dances. I hear they used to work really well, but not so much anymore. Now what we do is we fly planes up into clouds, and that's the rain dance. So I don't know. We'll see if this works. We'll see if this creates other issues. Maybe acid rain. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, I guess they got to do something over there where they're building where they shouldn't be building, in deserts. All right. Yeah, exactly, Joe. It's a desert. There's no water. Okay. What do we got here? I'm just trying to read your comments, guys. You're talking amongst each other, and I'm not involved because I'm just carrying on reading. I think Gizzle took off. Yeah, okay. Yep. There's no water in deserts. You think the ocean levels would get really bad? I don't know. I can't see us affecting that very much. So much damn water. We might get a couple more coastlines. Can't see that being too much of a problem. But yeah, we definitely have a desalinization problem, not so much a water issue on this planet. And when you look at that, it becomes more about an economic problem versus anything else because there's no money to be made in desalinization, so people aren't going to do it. So it's incumbent on philanthropists or governments or whatever to either take our money and do it, or the philanthropists to use their money and do it. So anyways. Okay, let's get on to the next thing here. All right. So NVIDIA has jumped into the AI race here. They've got their own AI chip, their flagship AI chip, to compete with some of the big guys. So I'm going to read this article here. This is from Reuters. NVIDIA unveils new flagship AI chip, the B200. So artificial intelligence semiconductor powerhouse NVIDIA kicked off its annual developer conference on Monday with Chief Executive Jensen Huang unveiling the new flagship AI chip, the Blackwell B200, in an afternoon keynote address. I got some burpees. NVIDIA's new chip and software announcements at GTC 2024 will help determine whether the company can maintain its leadership position as the dominant seller of the tools needed to fuel the past year's frenzy around AI. NVIDIA dominates the data center AI chip market, capturing roughly an 80% share last year. Holy shoot. Didn't know they had that much of the share of that. The B200 the B200 takes two chips the size of NVIDIA's previous offering and binds them together into a single chip. The new chip has 208 billion transistors. Holy jeez. More than double the 80 billion on the company's previous chip. All those transistors can access the memory attached to the chip at nearly the same time, improving productivity. That doesn't seem even right. How do you 208 billion transistors? Wow. The launch of Blackwell means NVIDIA will capture even more CapEx dollars than its previous Hopper generation GPU. We expect NVIDIA will continue to not only lead, but will widen the gap to its competitors in AI. Kingjai Chan, managing director and senior research and analysis at Summit Insights, said after the announcement. NVIDIA said major customers, including Amazon, Alphabet's Google, Meta Platforms, Microsoft, OpenAI, and Tesla are expected to use the new chip. Huang also announced partnerships with design software companies Ansys, Cadence, and Synopsys. Shares of three companies jumped around 3% in extended trade following Huang's comments. NVIDIA's shares have surged 240% over the past 12 months, making NVIDIA the U.S. stock market's third most valuable company behind only Microsoft and Apple. Wow. Anybody who was thinking about buying NVIDIA a year ago kind of missed the boat on that. Jeez. They would probably be on my price range anyway, but that stellar rally leaves NVIDIA's stock at risk of plummeting back to earth if the Santa Clara, California company fails to expand its AI business as much as investors expect. NVIDIA's market share is expected to drop several percentage points in 2024 as new products from rivals such as Intel and Advanced Micro Devices hit the market. Though NVIDIA is widely regarded as a chip designer, the company has built a significant battery of software products as well. NVIDIA said earlier this year its software and services business had reached an annual run rate of $1 billion by the end of the company's last fiscal year. The company is holding GTC in person for the first time since 2019. It expects roughly 16,000 people to attend, about double its last in-person event. So, yeah, big surge, obviously, with AI. Everybody's getting into it. Anybody that's in it, they're going to be the most valuable companies out there. Obviously, NVIDIA is jumping into the third spot now behind Microsoft and Apple. That tells you something. They've gotten into the space. They have obviously gotten into the space fairly early. And yeah, if you can, might be a good time to start investing in these guys when you can, or wait for a dip and then jump in, because they could be the next Apple, right? Yeah. What do you guys say here, what do you do with all that salt? Yeah, you see, hey, what do you do with all the salt? You seed it into the clouds. Come on, man. They're putting salt in the clouds anyway. And maybe everybody eats a little more salt. That's all. Can't wait for AI GPUs. They will probably just start making APU chips instead and start charging $3,000. Yeah, probably. I wish I invested in NVIDIA 25 years ago. I sold the house and had the money. But no, I had to listen to my financial advisor uncle and went into Fidelity instead and lost like half my money. Oh, that sucks, buddy. That sucks. Well, you know what? We're at the same age where we can do that, where we can look back and go, oh, I wish I put a shit ton of money into Bitcoin. I wish I put a shit ton of money into Apple, into Amazon. Like, there's all these different companies that, they could have invested in. We didn't. I mean, but there's always new companies, right? There's always new companies coming. So if you can kind of get ahead of one, it's almost like just taking a shot. Just take a risk, jump into one that's in the right space and see. I don't know. But if you're not risk adverse, or if you are risk adverse, I mean, it's better to kind of stay out. You don't think there's going to be a dip, eh? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It's hard to, I'm not really in the space too much. So I used to be a financial advisor, so I would have told you then, but now I'm not really. I kind of got my head in the sand a little bit. I actually, my former partner, financial advisor, takes care of my money. So I don't really look. He does a good job. So I really don't care that much. I have my own stuff that I do on my own, but it all tanked after 2020. It hasn't really come back yet. So yeah, I've got like blue chip stuff like, Air Canada and things like that. And they just haven't really come back. And then any of my flyers, any of the stuff that I took flyers on, is all junk. It's just sitting there. I'm just waiting for it maybe to come back. Some of them have dividends, so I get the dividends on them, but whatever. Anyways, all right. Let's carry on. I digress there. Okay. So, do you know who Andrew Santino is? You might know his face. You may have seen him. You might know his name. I didn't really know his name. I knew his face. He does a podcast with what's his face? God, Tommy Lee. No, Tommy Lee. Not Tommy Lee. What the hell am I talking about? What is his name? The guy from Mad TV. Chinese guy from Mad TV. I think he's Chinese. Bobby Lee. Yeah, I was close. Yeah, he does a podcast with Bobby Lee. That's funny. If you've watched it, it's one of these funny things where you get the clips from it, and all the clips are funny. I don't know. I haven't fully watched the whole podcast to know how funny it is, but Bobby Lee's funny. Santino he's got good comebacks and he's got good quips, so he's funny. But I think he needs that. The second guy. But he's getting kind of popular now, and he's in a new movie called Ricky Stenicki. I think it's on Apple TV. I just watched it. Literally just watched it. It's funny. I mean, it's like one of those like bro comedy type things. Um, but the funny thing about it is Andrew Santino not really all that funny in it. He's kind of just like he's one of the ensemble of the cast, and he doesn't steal any show whatsoever. And then so I went down the rabbit hole a little bit more, and I watched his I think it's his most recent comedy special called Cheeseburger, and less than impressed there as well. I'm going to read this article. This is Men's Health, just talking about the movie Ricky Stenicki, a little bit about Andrew Santino, but here goes. So in the zany new comedy Ricky Stenicki, three lifelong friends think they've perfected the art of getting away with lying to their wives whenever they want an impromptu boys' weekend. They simply claim that their old pal Ricky Stenicki, who doesn't actually exist, needs their help. When the ruse finally starts to wear thin, they decide to hire a down on his luck rock tribute act to portray their fake friend. Not exactly rock tribute act. If you watch the movie, you'll know what I mean. But he does. He goes method, throwing their lives into utter chaos. Ricky Stenicki stars a game as ever John Cena as the unhinged central role. The trio of friends consists of confident leader Dean, played by Zac Efron, stoner Wes, played by comedian Jermaine Fowler, and highly strung new dad JT, played by Andrew Santino. Santino is an actor and comedian known for his work in stand-up as well as his performances on the TV series I'm Dying Up Here, which followed a group of struggling stand-up comics in the 70s and hit drama This Is Us. I haven't watched either of those, so I don't know. Santino is the producer and host of the podcast Whiskey Ginger, in which he and guests from the entertainment industry drink whiskey while chatting. That sounds like drunk history almost. And for the last 3 years, he has hosted the Bad Friends podcast alongside fellow comedian Bobby Lee. That's the one that I got and like. If you're not familiar with his podcast, then there's still a chance you'll recognize him from some of his more recent TV appearances. He was in the main cast of the FXX series. Dave, is that FX? Whatever. Playing the titular character's roommate and manager. He also had a recurring role in Netflix's Beef. Okay, so anyways, kind of tell you, go ahead and watch that movie, Ricky Stenicki. It is funny enough. Zac Efron's all right in it. He's kind of what he always is, but it's John Cena that kind of steals the show with that movie. He's quite good in it. It's a little cheesy at times, but overall pretty good. But Andrew Santino, I don't know, like he could have been anybody. Put it this way, could have been anybody else as him. He didn't stand out for me at all. Like I said, I went and watched his comedy special, Cheeseburger. I found that the thing about him is his jokes seem to be constructed all right. He does that classic thing where they repeat themselves, which I think only Chris Rock pulls off. The rest of they kind of get irritating when they repeat they're stringing along the next joke with repeat of part of the other joke. But it just comes off a little flat. And I don't know why. I was going in there with a complete, open mind because of the podcast and I wanted to like it. But quite honestly, I don't think I really laughed at any point. I chuckled a few times, maybe one laugh, maybe, but it was mostly lackluster. It kind of has the same feeling, the same bust for me as maybe like a Matt Rife. When you watch Matt Rife's clips, funny all over TikTok and Facebook and wherever, Instagram maybe. But then when you watch his whole comedy special, you go, ooh, don't think he can do an hour. Kind of get that feeling with Andrew Santino as well. We'll have to see if maybe he falls into himself a little better. But right now, maybe just stick to the podcast and lean a little on Bobby Lee because that's working and that's probably what's going to keep him funny or keep him relevant at least for the next little while. All right, what do you think, Joe? Do you know who Andrew Santino is? Have you seen this podcast with Bobby Lee? Bad Friends. It's one of the funniest things they do is he does a horrible but great Asian impression, and Santino does. It's just funny. I don't know. I've seen all these clips and it just makes me laugh, especially since he's doing it to Bobby Lee, and Bobby Lee's got such a good sense of humor, and he's so good at like making it seem like he's offended, but he's not offended, which makes it funnier. So yeah, if you haven't, check that out. I mean, the podcast's good, like I said. The rest of it, Ricky Stenicki's a pretty decent movie, so check that out too. Okay, let me see. No, yeah. So that's where you're going to probably see them in the YouTube shorts. Now that I've been watching more, I get more of them. Anytime you watch something a little bit more, they start pumping it out to you. So that's what they've been doing. They've been pushing that on me more, which is, good and bad, I guess. All right. Okay. Let me get on. Let's change screens here. Let me get on to my last and final part of the podcast show, whatever the heck you want to call this thing. All right, in this segment, this is a new segment I like to do that basically I just title. It's a bit of a working title. So, So in this segment, I'll just take a article I find on the internet somewhere from one of the networks or one of the clown news networks, I should say, and I'll read it, and then we dissect it, see what we think about it. Something in the conspiracy theory realm, and So, without further ado, let me get to the article here. Okay, popped it up. Let's get the browser up here. Okay, this article is from our friends at CNN, the Clown News Network here, and it's entitled, "Researchers Say 1 in 10 Cows Are Alien Vessels Sent Here to Spy on Humans." Okay. There he is. Okay, so have you ever looked at a cow and said, that cow ain't right? Well, self-appointed researcher and Harvard hopeful Howard Wright says after a visit to a nearby dairy farm, he's left thinking just that. After a lengthy 90-minute visit to the nearby Vanderlei Farms, Wright began doing his own research on the origin of cows, their torrid history, and the presence of extraterrestrials. He was able to conclude that 9% of all cows, based on the 47 he studied, demonstrated what he would describe as glassy eyes and odd behavior. This odd behavior included following him intently and more awareness of their surroundings than that of the other cows. His research included spending intimate time with the cows, calling them pet names to build trust, and long walks. After spending quality time with the suspected cows, Wright was able to conclude that these cows were in fact alien crafts sent to Earth to spy on humans. Wright shared his findings with a friend and fellow researcher Garrett Bardum. Bardum also researched or visited the farm and concluded his own independent examination of the cows and noted some of the same findings. Bardum concluded that some of the cows smelt what he would describe as funny, and suggests that when he would look into the eyes of the cows he believed to be alien vessels, they would break eye contact with him in a suspicious, non-cow-like manner. Both Wright and Bardum plan on conducting more research in a collaborative effort and release these findings to Wright's uncle, who knows a guy that works for the government. They next plan to visit Vanderlei Farms one night this week when the cows are sleeping in an attempt to draw less attention while they conduct their research. So, alien cows, alien peeping Tom cows watching us from dairy farms. This is weird, wild stuff over here. I always had a feeling that the cows might be a little bit, they might be up to something. You watch cows, they look a little too aware. So these guys seem to be onto something. Let me know what you think in the comments. You think we're in danger of these alien vessel peeping Tom cows, or is this just a bunch of horse shit? Okay. Yeah, it's scat eating mushrooms, or scat mushroom eating cows. That's what I meant to say, I think. Yeah, that'll mess you up. Yeah. So that's it, man. That's all I got this podcast. We're at 54 minutes, so we plugged along pretty good, I think, even though I did seven articles this time. So, and looks like we lost Gizzo somewhere along the way. Well, that's all right. He joined us for a little bit of time. That's always nice. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm going to dial it in next week. I'm here next week. I'll dial it in a little bit because I'll be leaving the next day. So, just going to phone one in for you. No, I'll do my best. We'll see. But thanks for watching, anybody. Thanks for being with me, Joe. Thanks for being with me, Gizzo, for the time you were. Anybody else, if you've watched, if you are watching, if you did watch, whatever, if you caught some point and you liked it, do share the podcast, share the videos, like the videos, share the videos, do all that kind of stuff. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Again, all that kind of stuff does help small channels like mine. Been growing a little bit over the last little while, but slower than I'd like. And yeah, so you can help that. Only you can help that if you like it. If you don't like it, well, then just tune out. If you really don't like it, well, say something in the comments. Tell me how much of a douche I am. All right, well, without further ado, I'll end this thing. Thanks again, Joe. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week. And again, check for anything I talk about in the podcast in smaller doses during the week at 5 o'clock. They drop each day. Again, like and share those and do all the things you're supposed to do. All the things that we know to do on YouTube, but we sometimes don't do. So, yeah. So, again, thanks again. And we'll see you next week, the 25th, 7 o'clock. Until then, see ya.